Hey, welcome to December. You can tell it is finally December by this, and it's exciting. Today's a TCG video. It's gonna be about this deck which has just come out of nowhere, blindsided me and others, and many at the most recent tournament for the Pokemon TCG. That is gonna be Klawf Terapagos. These two are decks that exist on their own already. They did. And I don't think it's very intuitive initially to have the idea to mash them together kind of thing, but they actually work. And this deck came out in numbers in a bit in Sacramento, but was kind of under the radar, but then especially in Stuttgart regionals, which just wrapped up. They were like the second most popular deck, and it had a great conversion rate. So I want to look at this deck, this thing that kind of just came out of nowhere. Normally, I feel like that doesn't normally happen, and so that's why it's pretty interesting. So if you want to learn about a new deck like this, we can kind of go over it. All right, so I mentioned Klawf being a deck already, kind of a meme deck at first, and you know, even for a while. Klawf as a Pokemon isn't my favorite, but he does have a card, and his card has the attack Unhinged Scissors. This is gonna be our main thing, with Klawf at least. So it says that if this Pokemon's affected by a special condition, this attack does 160 more damage. That's on top of 30. Klawf is a single prize Pokemon who can hit for big damage if it has a special condition, that being like burn or poison, and this deck that we're looking at, the Klawf stuff and everything, it's gonna be poison. Poison is a mechanic, poison and burn is a mechanic in the TCG, but it's not that often used. But this, now it is because of all this stuff. Let's go ahead and look at Brute Bonnet, who powered up Klawf before and it still is putting in work. Brute Bonnet has the ability Toxic Powder. Once during your turn, if it has an Ancient Booster Energy Capsule attached to it, which is a tool card, you may make both active Pokemon poisoned. That means that you can have your guy, Brute Bonnet, on the bench, and then you can have your active Pokemon then get poisoned as well as your opponent, and then with poison, you're gonna be taking damage during checkup. So poison in the Pokemon TCG works as such. Oh, Zygarde! Basically, when the Pokemon is poisoned, they're gonna be taking a 1 damage counter placed onto them during Pokemon checkup, which happens between turns. And so that is kind of a minimal amount of damage and whatnot, but we can add damage to that by then going with Pokemon such as Radiant Hisuian Sneasler, which has the ability Poison Peak. During Pokemon checkup, put 2 more damage counters on your opponent's poison Pokemon. So that's ramping up. Let's see what other cards synergize in this deck. We also have Pecharunt. Pecharunt has the ability Toxic Subjugation, and it says as long as this Pokemon's in the active spot, put 5 more damage counters on your opponent's poison Pokemon during Pokemon checkup. And then Poison Chain is an attack that lets you hit for 10 damage, but then your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, and during the next turn that Pokemon can't retreat. Cool stuff. And Pecharunt is an 80 HP Pokemon you can search out with your buddy Poffin, Nest Ball stuff, all that. Pheasantipity EX is gonna be a Pokemon you're gonna face, like in every deck it feels like, because it's so good. Pheasantipity EX has the ability to flip the script. It says once during your turn, if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, you may draw 3 cards. You can't use more than 1 flip the script ability each turn, but this is powerful, and we're seeing how powerful it is. But one thing about this is that it is during your opponent's last turn. Poison is gonna get around this stuff. You can see just how popular the deck came out to be, and not only was it popular, but again, these are like really good placements. This deck flew through Stuttgart, and we got to see so much of it. One top player got 7th place, Robin Schultz, with their list right here, Klawf Terapagos. It's also, like other Pokemon decks, not that expensive, and if you already have a lot of these cards, which I'm sure you might, it's pretty easy to build and just get started. So we have Klawf in the deck, we have Terapagos EX in the deck. Terapagos EX, of course, is its own deck, but now I think we're going to be seeing a lot of it together with Klawf. It's interesting the way they synergize. Terapagos EX is usually just used for his unified beatdown attack. It has a 2 energy cost. It says that if you go second, you can't use it during your first turn. But this attack does 30 damage for each of your bench Pokemon. So right now we have Area 0 Underdepths as a stadium, and this stadium allows us to have 8 bench spaces. And with 8 bench spaces, we can fit a ton of Pokemon, and this deck fits a ton of different Pokemon. This is a lot of one-ofs, including a one of Pecharunt, one of the Sneasler, because you can only run 1 Radiant Pokemon per deck. Yeah, they have the Electrode, they have Oranguru V, which is quite interesting. We are looking at that ability Back Order. Back Order says, once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you can search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon tool cards and reveal them, and then put them into your hand before shuffling your deck. And the tool cards we're looking for, again, are some really good stuff, such as the Booster Energy Capsule, such as the Binding Mochi, such as the Forest Seal Stone. This deck also shows Genesect. Genesect has the ability Ace Nullifier. If this Pokemon has a Pokemon tool attached, your opponent can't play any A-Spec cards from their hand, which is powerful. Speaking of A-Spec, what are we running in this? Usually it's going to be Precious Trolley. Precious Trolley is the A-Spec that says search your deck for any number of basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench, and then shuffle your deck. This is great for getting out all of our Pokemon. Oh my goodness. We can get Latios, we can get all these guys to set up. Latios is in this deck for the ability Skyliner especially. It says your basic Pokemon in play have no retreat cost, which is really great. There's also the Fezandipity, the Squawk, just all these guys. There's also Pecharunt EX, which has the ability Subjugating Chains. Once during your turn, you may switch one of your benched Dark Pokemon, except any Pokemon Pecharunt EX, with your active Pokemon, and if you do, the new active Pokemon is now poisoned. This is another way to get poisoned. Powerful stuff here. This deck runs 4 double turbo energy, which is something that the Klawf deck of before kind of ran, and this is what Terapagos ran. And so the energy-wise, it's not that big of a leap for them to then combine and work together that way. So I'm seeing it. This is really fascinating because, like I said, usually the decks don't quite come out of nowhere, it seems, and I'm just surprised it works so well with everything in here. But it quite does. And so this is definitely a deck you might want to check out if you want to try something different, if you already have a lot of these pieces, which you might, and it's just a cool, fun thing that I think a lot of people are going to be trying. We've got a 12th place finish with Klawf here. We've got anything crazy in here? Same old, usual stuff. Arven's going to be so helpful. We're going to have a lot of boss's orders here because we want to just be gusting and aggressive. This is a very aggressive deck, and it is really fun, it looks like, very interesting. It's something. There's also the 2 of Hisuian Heavy Balls, which we got to see on stream a few times and stuff, because, it's just so many, it's basic Pokemon, and sometimes, because you have all these, one-ofs, and there's so many, you might want 2 Hisuian Heavy Balls to go find them. That's really fun. Listen, I think that this deck is gonna be, a popular thing for the next bit, and so it's good to know what it is, what it does, and if you are interested in it, potentially giving it a go. Klawf Terapagos is an actual deck, and it seems to be a really fun one to try. So yeah, thanks for listening to me kind of go over some of it. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on the deck. Let me know what you think of it, or if you're giving it a shot or something. But yeah, all in all, thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time.